He had heard Mr. McGann tell one of the little girls, "If you were older, I would love to marry you." And that just made him deeply uncomfortable.
Mr. McGann, tell me about what you know of him as far as being in the school system.
Well, we first met him in 2022 when the fall semester started. It was his first year teaching, like solo, having his own classroom. And it was at Donald Elementary, and he was my son's fourth grade teacher. He taught his homeroom teacher. He had like science, math, and a few other subjects. The first time we met him was at Meet the Teacher, and he was an interesting character. He was uncomfortable, very standoffish, cold, wouldn't make eye contact. You could ask him a question, he'd give you a one-word reply. But I'll be honest, I just thought he was young and a new teacher, and I was like, it's awkward, like, that's okay. It wasn't until the school year kicked up that there would be incidents in the classes, and then eventually my son started coming home from school just really depressed and glum. And one day I just kept pushing and pushing, and he broke down crying and told me that he had seen some things in the class, and other classmates had too, that just made him really uncomfortable, but that he was scared to get anyone in trouble.
Wow.
Yeah.
It involved Mr. McGann?
Yes.
Wow. How did you respond?
Well, I was terrified because, he wouldn't just come right out with it at first. And so I was like, what do you mean uncomfortable? Like, tell me. And I pushed. And that's when he eventually told me that him and some other classmates had noticed that Mr. McGann was very touchy and showed a lot of favoritism to certain girls in the class. And that when they would go out for recess, sometimes he would choose one of those girls to stay behind, just one-on-one, him in the classroom while everyone went outside. And that when they'd come back from recess, he would sometimes have the little girl in his lap. And around the same time, he would bring like treats and goodies and stuff, but just for these little girls. And I think the straw that finally, made my son just like snap and spill it all was that he had heard Mr. McGann tell one of the little girls, "If you were older, I would love to marry you." And that just made him deeply uncomfortable because even at 9, he recognized like, this is weird, this is weird behavior from a teacher.
Yeah. Did you feel like you had to report that?
Absolutely. The very first thing I did the next morning was take it to the principal at Donald. They have a new principal now, but the principal at the time, I took it to her. And I made sure to get a list of names of other students who had witnessed this, as well as some of the names of the little girls who were being singled out. And I did. I took it to the principal. I'm not gonna lie, I felt she was kind of dismissive about it, but she did say they would investigate it, and there was an investigation. They put out a statement a few days later saying that they found he had managed his class poorly, and so he was given the option to resign with no consequence, and he was allowed to go on teaching in other districts.
How do you feel about that?
It was upsetting. I thought it was very upsetting. A, because I felt like she was dismissive from the very beginning. And also B, I just couldn't believe that out of all the other kids who witnessed it and the little girls who went through it, that there was absolutely zero evidence of inappropriate behavior. That just did not seem possible to me.
Learning he had become the suspect in this murder case, when you saw that for the first time, Sierra?
I was shocked. I would not have been shocked if I had seen he was arrested, honestly, for like sexual misconduct, but it was just the violent nature of the crimes. I guess that did surprise me, because while I thought he was off, I never got like violent vibes from him.
As a mom, thinking about their children being there in the park at the time.
Yeah.
How does that hit you, Sierra?
It's heartbreaking. It made me cry when I heard about it last night laying in bed. Just that those poor little girls, to see something so horrific and to not have their mom and dad to support them, and the trauma that they had to have gone through at his hands it's devastating. But also the fact that he was allowed to continue being a teacher and potentially victimizing so many children we don't know about across several states is also really upsetting.
After his arrest and just knowing the close proximity that you've had with him. Was there a conversation among the family about this, or?
Yeah, I called my family right away and everyone was just horrified, but also because they all knew about the complaint I had made that year. So, you know, everyone was just like, oh my God, like, you guys were right. And no one really listened. Like, something was really wrong with him. And in a lot of ways for my son, I think it was vindicating because at the time he was made to feel like little and small because he came forward with it. And like a whistleblower or a tattletale. That was definitely how we were made to feel. And, you know, that wasn't the case. He was telling the truth.
Yeah. Well, Sierra, what would you say to other parents about when their children are acting differently? And as a parent, you could probably know that it may relate to school.
Yes.
What would you say to other parents about making sure that they did what you did? They pressed for that information.
Always just make it a safe place for them to be able to tell you and to feel comfortable coming to you with those things, you know, and believe them and listen to them and not dismiss them, because, you know, that's some pretty big thing. It's a big thing. And we need to listen to our kids. We're their first line of defense. We're supposed to fight for them and protect them when no one else will. And we need to make it a safe environment for them to come forward with those things.
Yeah. We're all waiting to find out why.
Yeah.
What about you?
I hate to speculate, but of course, hearing that there were 2 little girls, you know, who witnessed that, I can't help but, you know, connect the dots and think that he was after those little girls. That's what I honestly think. It just seems too weird to me.